Hello, beautiful collectives out there. Welcome to my channel, Astro Cheryl. And this is your monthly forecast for November 2025. Okay, we're already at the end of the year, but we're still in Scorpio season, and there's a lot of Scorpio energy out there. So there's a lot of reveal. You know, Scorpio is mysterious, but the revealing of the false truths are coming out in the open. So just be aware that, you know, the untruths, the lies, the underhanded hate is showing up. And that way, that energy can be dealt with. We have a full moon that's coming up on the 5th, and it's a super full moon, and it's in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is about agriculture and about finances. But here in the U.S., we can see the breakdown of our governmental system and the those people who are in need of extra help for food and subsidy. So that is opening up and crumbling out into the open. But then on a personal note, those who are those people who have been deceitful, deceiving, and out to hide their feelings towards another person is coming out in the open. Okay, and that energy that's coming out has to be dealt with. Okay, so that's the purpose of it being shown. That's why the veil is thin now, so that each individual can see what it is that you're doing and what it is that has been done to you. Now, those people who have been done to, you'll get to see how this karmic energy plays out, because all of that negative energy that has been thrown at you by, you know, people you don't know, is being returned to sender. Okay, and it's once it's returned to its sender, it has to be dealt with. Okay, so anyway, as I said before, this is your monthly reading for November. Now, as we get into the month, we have Mars entering Sagittarius on the 4th. And we have that super full moon on the 5th. And Venus moves into Scorpio on the 6th. Uranus is retrograding back to Taurus at that 29 degrees on the 7th. And Mercury turns retrograde in Sagittarius on the 9th. Jupiter turns retrograde in Cancer on the 11th. Mercury turns retrograde, I just said that. The new moon in Scorpio is at 28 degrees, and that's on the 19th. And Saturn in Pisces is stationing direct on the 27th, and then Mercury turns direct on the 29th. So with all of the retrogrades that are happening now, this is turning you inward to look at those areas in your life that needs to be refurbished or cleansed, I will say. Okay, Now, a lot of you may not be ready to face your fears because that's exactly what's happening in this Scorpio energy. It's a lot of fear-based energy that is showing up. But when you face your fears and you deal with what it is that's coming up for you, then over time, you'll be able to take a step up in your vibration. So, with all of this energy happening, especially with Uranus, it is like an electric energy where things happen all of a sudden. But while it's in retrograde, it won't act as fast as it would normally act if it was in its forward motion. So I just want to say that those people who are out there who are trying to hurt, cause pain, trauma to another person, all of that is coming back to you. And a lot of times people cannot take what they dish out. They can't handle it. So are you ready to handle what you are dishing out? That is up to you. And now it's time for me to get into the forecast for the month. So I will see you on the other side. Hello to my beautiful Taurus risings out there. Welcome to my channel, not a magnificent flow. It's Astro Cheryl. I have two, so this one is Astro Cheryl today. All right, so let's move right into your forecast for November 2025. On the 3rd, we have Mars in Scorpio trining Neptune. A trine is, is like a gift. And with it, it's affecting your relationships in your 7th house and your relationships in your 11th house. Your 7th house have to do with your partnerships, your one-on-one relationships, your marriage, friends, family, business partners. Whereas your 11th house is about your large groups, memberships, organizations, group connections with, a large group of friends as well. Could also include your work friends there. Hopes and wishes and luck is also a part of the 11th house. Okay? So, this Mars in Scorpio trining Pluto in Pisces is what's happening in this favorable connection. So you may experience increased intuition because of this Neptunian energy in the sign of Pisces. Neptune is very spiritual, and it's also psychically connected to the spirit world. And receptivity in relating to others. Okay, you may have the ability to inspire and motivate groups or causes with empathy, okay, creativity and strategic insight. Okay, wherever Mars and Scorpio is, it's always going to be some kind of strategy happening there. But this is for the better. Okay, so you may be healing, forgiving, or offering second chances and mutual support to your friends now. You may have opportunities to transform your dreams into reality through collective actions driven by passion and shared ideas. So, it could be your friend group who will help you, transform your dreams into reality. Okay, so on the 4th, we have Mars, and it enters Scorpio, and this is happening in your, Mars is entering Sagittarius, and it's happening in your 8th house. Okay, so your 8th house, did I speak on your 8th house already? No, your 8th house is about transformation, death, rebirth, other people's money, joint finances, and of course that means that there's a significant other that would play the part in your eighth house as well. Psychological issues, debts, banking issues, and I guess that's enough. Okay, you get the picture. All right, so this transit is offering a heightened energy that's happening in your 8th house. It is assertive, dynamic, and it really wants to, this energy really wants to, tackle the shared resources, the intimacy, the transformation, and the psychological depth. Okay, so you are ready to face things head on. You may be motivated to confront taboo subjects, address debts or joint finances, and engage in passionate encounters or transformative experiences. Now, these things, there are gurus out there and different organizations out there where you can get involved and be a part of this transforming spiritual experience. So, it's not unrealistic. I mean, if you really want to connect with yourself spiritually and you can't do it alone, they have, people online, or you can go to these retreats in person and get connected with your higher self. Okay, on that same day, which is the 4th, we have Mars in Sagittarius in an opposition to retrograde Uranus in Gemini. And this is happening between your 8th house and your 2nd house. Now, your 2nd house is the house of finance. It's the house of your value system, your self-worth, your possessions. Okay? So here, in this opposition, it's like a pool, and that kind of hurts because oppositions are meant to help us grow, change the things that we have control over, and transform it into something more authentic to who you are as a person. So you may experience sudden events or conflicts regarding money, possessions, intimacy, and the boundaries between what's yours and what's not, okay? Especially when Mars is impulsive, Mars impulsiveness, because Mars is impulsive, and it acts first and thinks later, okay? It stirs resistance from the Uranus unpredictability and independence. Okay, there can also be tension between security and risk, alongside abrupt revelations or confrontations about finances or immediate relationships. Okay, so here you don't want to act impulsively and spend your money on things that may not bring you back what you put out, okay? Because there's a lot of uncertainty here And we're talking about your money and other people's money. So you want to be careful during this time. On the 5th, we have this full moon, and it's in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a fixed sign, so it's hard for change to occur with Taurus. It also rules finances, that second house energy that I just talked about. It also rules over agriculture as well. And we can see how this full moon and our society here in the U.S. is being affected, because now there are people who need governmental assistance to buy food and to pay for their housing. They're getting stripped of that right now. In the month of November is starting. So this full moon is, it's about releasing and letting go of what no longer serves you, and also the old patterns that affects your self-image and keeps you at in a place of need. Okay, so now it's time to think outside the box. So here, this may be a time to let go of old patterns or self-images that no longer fit. Okay, those of you who are those people who may feel like they need the support of the government's funding, may not really need it. You may just be used to having it available. But now is the time for you to reconcile that, because those self-images that no longer fit, you need to let go of. You may be inspired to pursue a new look, new habits, or assert your personal power in fresh ways. Now, this is good. This is positive stuff, because this is how the response should be to the government system taken away from those that they think are needy, okay? Your sensitivity to your body and your surroundings may increase. Involving yourself in activities that promote security, pleasure, and self-esteem is what is being asked of you right now. So on the 6th, we have Jupiter in Cancer, and it's trining, this is a gift, retrograde Saturn in the sign of Pisces. And this is happening in your 3rd house of communication, siblings, and your local neighborhood, short-term travel, and mechanical things like cars and transportation stuff is also a part of the 3rd house. And with this trine in the 11th house, this is about your larger group of friends, membership, organizations. Could also be a part of the church experience as well. Also, your hopes, wishes, and luck is a part of the 11th house. Okay, so with this transit, it brings ease in expressing yourself, nurturing others, showing wisdom and optimism towards your peers and larger communities. Okay, Cancer is that nurturer, and Jupiter is that expansiveness. And of course, Saturn is going to keep us grounded, okay? And Pisces is more of a spiritual healing energy. Okay, your intuition may enhance your realistic and creative goal setting as well. Pisces is very intuitive, okay? Your conversations or group activities may lead to mature decisions about where and with whom you want to invest your time and energy with. And that's a plus, because a lot of times we have a tendency to just go along with that program, even though it's not serving our higher purpose. Okay? So we have on that same day, we also have Venus in the sign of Scorpio squaring. So this is some tension, okay? And it's squaring Jupiter in Cancer. And this is happening in your seventh house of one-on-one relationships, business partners, partnerships of all kinds as well. And your close friends and family are also affected by the seventh house. And open enemies. Okay, and your open enemies could mean, an old relationship, love relationship that no longer exists, but there could be some animosity that still hovers. But anyway, your third house, we just talked about the communication, your siblings, and what else? In your neighborhood, okay? Your local community. So there could be tension that creates challenges balancing your emotional intensity in close relationships with broader, more optimistic or idealistic interactions in your daily communications and short trips. Okay, so, you know, it's all about, prioritizing. Okay, power struggles, communication misunderstandings in partnerships, or the feeling of overwhelm by social or intellectual input that conflicts with your intimate emotional demands right now. Okay? So it's here, okay, there is tension here. And you have to, take a breather. You don't have to respond to any of this, but you can take this in and decide how you want to approach any conversations that show up. And let's see. Beware of the intensity of communication because Scorpio is an intense energy and it has a tendency to, talk in an intense manner and go deeper, you know. So there we have it with this square. So we're going to move on to the seventh, and that's Uranus in retrograde, moving back into the sign of Taurus at that 29th degree, okay? So your Taurus rising, this is happening in your first house, okay? So this is about you and how other people see you, okay? So your self-image and sense of individuality may be getting a shake-up here, okay? You may experience a strong urge to reinvent yourself, question your life path, and experiment with how you present yourself to the world. Your dedication to your authentic self may be challenged, okay? Which may bring internal awakenings about your true needs for freedom and stability. Okay, that is Uranus. It's going to shake up wherever it is, it's going to shake it up, okay? Because it wants us to acknowledge and experience our own destiny, our freedom to choose, our freedom to be, And if you don't know what that is or what that means for you as a person, then this is where the shakeup is happening. Okay? It's in your first house. So this is about your identity. All right? And a lot of times we operate off of false identities, based on our roots, our fourth house, information. And when you start to come into yourself and want to be more authentic in who you are as a person, then that's what Uranus will help you do. And most of the times when this happens with Uranus, it's out of our control. It's something that is going to happen. Okay? So anyway, let's move on. We have the ninth. We have Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. And this is happening in your 8th house. And your 8th house is the house of transformation. It's the house of that I spoke to you about already: debts, taxes, shared finances, and retrogrades are always about revisiting, reevaluating, reflecting on. It's not about taking, action. It's about figuring it all out first. So this transit may be focused on unresolved issues around debts, taxes, or shared finances, and it may resurface for review and healing. It's an opportunity to clear out old emotional or psychological blockage as well, because this is 8th house energy. And, try to recalibrate your agreements in your intimate relationships. You're encouraged to reflect deeply on trust and vulnerability and the exploration of shared values and mutual goals. Okay, so it's time for you to figure all of that out while Mercury is retrograde in Sagittarius in your 8th house right now. Because once it turns direct, that's when what is hidden will come to the surface, and you can start to purge that at the next full moon, which is in December. Okay, so on the 11th, we have Jupiter turning retrograde in Cancer, and this is happening in your 3rd house of communication, your siblings, your local neighborhood, early education, and your old friends. Okay? So Cancer is that nurturing energy, and Jupiter is that expansive energy, and it's turning retrograde here in your 3rd house. So you may have the tendency to reevaluate how you express yourself or pursue new knowledge. Okay, it's a good time for reflection on thought patterns and attitudes that influence your perceptions. Okay, good time for that. So on the 19th, we have a new moon in the sign of Scorpio. And this is happening in your 7th house of relationships, one-on-one partnerships, business partners. It's also the house of contracts, open enemies, legal information as well. So, with this new moon, you may feel a strong emotional urge to start fresh in your relationships, establishing bonds based on deep emotional connections and authenticity. And whenever Scorpio is around, as I said, it's deep and it's an intense energy because it wants the truth. And that's what Scorpio is seeking out. Okay? This may bring a deeper understanding of yourself through your close connections, which means, your family, your siblings, your old friends, people in your neighborhood that you're close to, and prompt you to approach relationships with more honesty, compassion, and emotional depth. Okay? So on the 20th, we have Not we have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and it's a cazimi. Now, I'm not going to speak too much on this. This is happening in your second house because Mercury is always very close to the sun, wherever it is. Okay, Mercury is never too far away, so it experienced that cazimi all the time. But this one happens to be exact. So it's going to give you, through the retrograde, moments of clarity, okay? Whereas Mercury generally, there's some confusion with when it's in retrograde, misunderstandings and things like that. But with the cazimi, it's giving you some moments of clarity. So on the 22nd, the sun enters Sagittarius, and this is happening in your 8th house. And I believe we spoke about the 8th house already, so I don't have to keep repeating myself. I did, and it's in, the sun is entering Sagittarius there, okay? So you may feel the need to uncover what lies beneath the surface. And this is 8th house energy, okay? Such as old emotional energy issues or psychological compulsions, often inviting introspection and renewal, okay? This time may bring a mix of vitality and intensity to your personal transformations and intimate relationships, okay? You may feel drawn towards philosophical or intellectual explorations of life mysteries and emotional connections. That's the Sagittarius energy, and that's ninth house stuff. Okay, so you may express love and relationship through expansive conversations, travel, and shared discovery. Again, that's the Sagittarius energy because Sagittarius, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Jupiter is expansive. So, of course, Sagittarius is taking on those properties as well. And long distance travel is a part of Jupiter's expansiveness and as well. So on the 27th, we have Saturn stationing direct. Why did I do that? In the sign of Pisces. And this is happening in your 11th house of large groups, memberships, hopes, and wishes. Okay? And let's see. This transit asks for deep responsibilities and discipline in how you engage with groups here, because that's Saturn energy. Saturn is the taskmaster, is the tester as well. Saturn wants you to take things step by step, okay? And it is grounded in reality. So, how you engage with groups, communities, and your hopes and dreams has to be done in a Saturnian way. So there is a spiritual component that encourages you to align your goals with your compassionate and humanitarian values. You are encouraged to take on a leadership role or contribute in a structured way to group efforts. That's Saturn is about structure with patience, perseverance. That's Saturn again, helping you overcome obstacles to achieve your dreams. Okay? So you're being grounded through all of this 11th house energy, and sometimes, it could be slow. So, and it may not be, a feel good place. However, is something that gets the job done. So we have Mercury stationed direct on the 29th in Scorpio. So we are still dealing with that Scorpio energy. Let's see, what house? In your 7th house of relationships. Okay, so with that, your communication will still be intense, but it will have some clarity. You'll have clarity in your communication, in your that give and take communication is going to be well received. Okay? So, Taurus rising, this is your forecast for November 2025. And until next time, bye for now.